Hello there, everyone, and welcome in. I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and this is the Mad Science Lab podcast. Today, we are continuing on with the Studs and Duds series, and joining me is Stephen Chalmers. Stephen, welcome back. Thanks for joining me, as always.
Thank you, buddy. I'm glad to be back, man. It's always a fun time in the Mad Science Lab.
Oh, yeah, it's been a little extra mad here this week. Things not going according to plan, and it looks more like that Breaking Bad meth lab than a Mad Science Lab. So, you want to take a second to tell everyone where they can find you and your work?
Yeah, you can find me and my co-host Ryan and our podcast, the Delaware Dynasty Boys podcast, over at RPO Football, where we also do their dynasty rankings and redraft rankings. Also, at Yards Per Fantasy, you can find me and Ryan there as well.
I don't know if I've had your co-host on. I've had you on like 4 times, but it's always amazing. I've had this a few times where it's like you never really know who's connected to who and who writes with who and who podcasts with who. And then I had one day where I had 3 people in a row, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I've had any of your co-hosts on. And they were literally the 3 of them in a row. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you guys. I'm like, you say Ryan. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not even sure. It could have been the Ryan I had on 2 hours ago. I have no idea. So I always forget. I can barely keep my own shit straight some days. So it's always tough to remember who's connected to who nowadays.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah.
You meet so many people in this industry. But how's your Scott Fish draft going?
I haven't made a pick since, I don't know, noon. I was 101. I got Mahomes and Taylor. We had a whole bunch of people go crazy on quarterback. Then they added in Mark Andrews and Christian McCaffrey, allowing Cody Carpentier to take Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase at the 1-2 turn. That's just lovely. I get it. It's super flex, but what the fuck are we even doing? Yep, I am about 4 picks away from making my 3rd pick. Well, my 3rd and 4th pick, but it's been stalled out. The last few picks, round 3 has gone much slower than any other round. I think I've done 4 shows today, and not once have I been able to get my pick done live on the air. So we'll see if that changes. But for now, let's get into your first stud. Oh yeah, actually, sorry, I didn't even thought of it. How you doing? How's your going?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I got my QB. I wanted. Remember, I talked to you about it. Me and Ryan were targeting Josh Allen at the 2 spot. I got Josh Allen there, and then JT fell to me at 211. So it's been a great start so far. JT and Josh Allen for Team Chalmers.
Oh, that's so we have almost the same build, except I chose Mahomes instead of Allen because I had the 101. So
right. Where did Kelsey go in your draft?
4. I almost took him at 1, but then I'm looking at the quarterbacks that get back to me, and I'm glad I took Mahomes because this draft went crazy on quarterbacks, and I would have not liked who I got. So I'm fine with that. Okay, well, let's get into your first stud. We have Atlanta tight end Kyle Pitts, tight end 33 last year, 356 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, which was a career high, 84.6 full PPR points for 7.56 per game. ADP currently on Fantasy Pros as 67th overall. He has actually gone up 1 since Friday. Currently sits at 66, tight end 5. What is it about Pitts you like?
I think this is actually switched. I have Pitts as a dud.
Oh, do you? Okay. No, see, I had him written down first. Oh, you're right. I have it written down. I told you it's been a rough week. I have him written down as a dud. I just can't read. I can't read my own writing.
It's all good, bro. It's all good.
No, you know what? To tell you the truth, I've had a bunch of these shows where I'm sitting there and I'll read the other guy's studs and duds, and I look down and I'm going, oh, this fucking guy. I don't want to talk about this as his. So then I'm reading, I'm going, oh, he's going to talk about Pitts as his stud. I don't like this. So I just gained an extra notch of respect for the fact that he's your dud. So we can be friends again. So talk away.
Be friends. Yeah. So dud for me, Kyle Pitts. It's not that I don't like the talent from an athletic standpoint perspective. He's one of the greatest tight ends athletically to ever come into the league. He's a unicorn at the position. I just don't like him in the Atlanta system. To be honest with you, when you run the ball as much as Atlanta does, you draft Bijan. I don't see how amongst Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan they can all mesh and coexist as top tier options. Last year, ADP was in the 30s. softens the blow a little bit with it at 67. But to be honest with you, I don't see the upside that Pitts finishing as a top 3 tight end. I don't see it.
No, not with Desmond Ridder at quarterback. If this was a Matt Ryan-led offense, you've got a chance with a statue at quarterback, seasoned veteran who loves the pass. Desmond Ridder at quarterback, this is not going to happen. Well, you know what? Okay, I shouldn't say it's not going to happen. It's one of those things where I think it's an either or. Either Kyle Pitts is going to be a bust or Drake London's going to be a bust. They can't both hit under this offense unless I should make an addendum to that. I guess they could both hit if Desmond Ridder is good and Bijan Robinson is the biggest bust in NFL history. Other than that, one of these two pass catchers is going to bust unless we've really misjudged how good Desmond Ridder is. But
it's just me personally looking at it. In the system and scheme itself, I'm taking Darren Waller before I take Kyle Pitts. I think Darren Waller has a chance to really blossom as a top 3 tight end this season, barring injury, because, we've missed a lot of Darren Waller over the last 3 years. But I like the upside there. It's tough to say would I take Goddard over him. Probably not, and probably still going to take Pitts, but Waller for sure. I think Kyle Pitts, I don't know, man. He's just never been my guy, and in the Arthur Smith system, I've never understood the hype.
I was talking about this on the last show. Somebody had, I don't remember. Anyways, tight end came up, and I don't remember how. I got my show sheet here. Oh, we were talking Andrews. That's what it was. Okay, as far as redraft goes, the tight end dead zone is tight end 2. There's Travis Kelce. If you don't get them, or if you don't get Kelce, Andrews, Hawkinson, Kittle, Pitts, Waller, Goddard, that's a tier for me. You know who I don't own? Andrews, Hawkinson, Pitts, because they're always the first 3, despite what Fantasy Pro says right here. The 3 I have most is whoever goes cheapest out of Kittle, Waller, and Goddard. I get it. Andrews may finish as tight end 2. I don't think his production is going to beat these, all the way down to Goddard by enough to justify taking him. If I were to bring up my Scott Fishbowl draft, you could see it. He went in the first round. Then Hawkinson went in the 3rd. What's that?
I saw Andrews go 1-8.
1-9 in this, and then Hawkinson at 302. Whoever I can get at 5, 6, or 7 out of Waller, Goddard, Kittle, that's who I'm taking. Sure, they might be a point per game less than Andrews, but they're also going to be 4 rounds cheaper. And that's, for me, that's what it is. The difference here and why I'm out on Pitts. Well, what do you think about this ADP range?
I'm going to be honest with you. I think we're not talking about a tight end 2 that's drawing a lot of targets and not getting enough attention. Pat Freiermuth as well. Said you're talking about a guy who was a safety blanket reliability, a guy whose targets went up for 2 years, 98 targets last year for a tight end. Only had 2 touchdowns last year as opposed to 7 his rookie year. I see Pat Freiermuth being a tight end that you should target later as well. But the ADP is about right. Although I don't agree with Waller underneath Pitts. Like I said, I'm taking Waller regardless.
All right, we'll move on to your next, what I think is your dud, but how the hell should I know? That would be Indianapolis dud, yeah? Okay. Indianapolis receiver Michael Pittman was wide receiver 20 last year, 925 receiving yards for 4 touchdowns, 190.5 PPR points, 13.53 per game. Current ADP on Fantasy Pros is 61 overall. He's actually moved up since Friday. He's 57 overall, wide receiver 23. For me, I don't mind the player. I just think he's overvalued. The players in his range are just guys I prefer more, and that's why I don't have any Pittman. How about you?
Yeah, I have a couple of Pittman shares in my dynasty leagues, but it's hard to move off Pittman. Last year, we were talking about Pittman as like a top 15, top 13 dynasty wide receiver. But now when you're going to 2023, you're talking about rookie QB play with a heavy tendency to run the rock. On top of that, I know you're talking about his deep ball. I know Anthony Richardson has shown a pretty deep ball at the combine, vice versa, all that. But at the end of the day, if you go back and look at the college tape historically, his completion percentage and his ability just to throw the ball on time, on target, it doesn't look good. It's not good from a fantasy perspective. I think his value comes from his rushing and not his throwing. I think that hurts Michael Pittman.
Do you know Michael Pittman has an NFL record he set last year? That would be most targets by an NFL wide receiver without breaking 1,000 receiving yards. Tells you all you need to know. right there. Okay, let's bring this. I'm going to bring up the ADP. It's giving me a hard time. Like I said, the range he's currently going in, there's not anyone I really want to target in here. There's not anyone I want to avoid. Pittman would be one of the ones I'd probably most likely to avoid. What do you think of this range?
The range 23. Yeah, Pittman I'm avoiding. Mike Williams just for injury designations. I'm going to try to avoid Mike Williams, although I think that he can explode in a Kellen Moore type offense. Jerry Jeudy, we'll talk about him in a second. I'm definitely taking over Pittman, and just a couple other guys. I think I saw Godwin there too. I would definitely take Godwin.
Sorry, you got me focused on Jeudy, so I transitioned to Jeudy quickly. I agree, though. You're right. Yeah, that's the range he was in. That will bring us to the aforementioned stud, Denver wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. Was wide receiver 22 last year in limited time. That wide receiver 22 finish was mostly the last 6-7 games of the season. 972 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns, 197.2 full PPR points, good for 13.15 per game, ADP of 58 overall. Jeudy is 58 still, wide receiver 25. Why are you higher on Jeudy?
Man, from the last 7 games of the year were special. I mean, the last 2 years, injury designation wise, have been rough on Jeudy. But you saw the reason why he's the first round talent out of Alabama. He was wide receiver 7 from week 11 on. He really flashed in an offense that was awful. He was the bright spot for the Denver Broncos with a Nathaniel Hackett-led team. Bring in Sean Payton, improve the O-line via free agency. I see a bounce-back year from Russ, and I see a breakout year from Jerry Jeudy coming.
What do you think about him in the range he's at? Do you like him more or less than the guys around him, or what do you think?
I like him significantly more, to be honest with you. When you're talking about Pittman, Williams, Watson, I give Chris Godwin love. The only thing about Godwin is obviously you're going from Tom Brady to either Baker or Kyle Trask. Chris Godwin's a very talented wide receiver, but in that range, give me Jeudy. I think Jeudy should be up there in the Terry McLaurin, Hopkins, Keenan Allen range. I think he's being slept on mightily. I'm a big Jerry Jeudy believer.
Yeah, he's definitely the numbers from that 7. I thought it was 6, but 7-game stretch are. It's funny. Like, they were impressive. Everyone talks about that brief stretch Watson had and how great he looked. Jeudy's stretch was longer and more productive outside of the insane touchdowns. And
Right.
Nobody says anything about Jeudy. So I think in that range, I'd much rather have Jeudy, who's kind of being slept on. So I don't hate it here.
Yeah. And I mean, last year too, I mean, the targets were always there. It's just hard to keep things rolling after these high ankle sprains. They're massive injuries to wide receivers. Like it's hard to get rolling after a 3-4 week absence. You know what I mean? High ankle sprains are tough to play through.
I agree. They tend to produce better in their first year recovered from it. So I expect him to take a big jump. And now you're probably my favorite of your guys. Your next stud is J.K. Dobbins, Baltimore running back. Finished RB 56 last year. Dealt with injury a lot most of his career. 520 rushing yards, 42 receiving, 3 touchdowns, 91.7 full PPR points, 11.46 per game. Current ADP is 50 overall. Let's check to see if that's updated since Friday. 50 overall. Nope, 50 overall, RB 20. Why are you higher on Dobbins?
Running back 20. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. The limited workload over the first 3 years of his career, you don't have to worry about these touches that are going to affect him on the body. I know he's been through a lot injury wise, but when you look at it, he's explosive. He's a very explosive running back. Never averaged under 5 yards per carry. Look at the stretch last year. He was averaging 5.2 yards per carry, not even 100%. He goes into the playoff game, plays well in the playoff game. Talked about feed me the ball. Let's go. You lose the game. You don't give him the ball. He's playing so well in this stretch, even though he's not 100%. Bring in an offensive scheme that likes to play fast with Todd Monken. A lot of new offensive weapons. I think they're going to spread the ball out. I think they're going to make it a lot easier for J.K. Dobbins. See, I see this Ravens offense being a top 5 offense this year. I want Dobbins, I want Andrews, and I want Lamar Jackson.
It's funny we were talking, first year post injury with Jeudy. I think the same thing here. Like, We're going to see probably the same with who else? Brees, Javante. They started out slow. Injury lingered longer. They picked up a bit, but even in his best stretch at the end there, Dobbins, you could still tell he had a little hitch in his giddy up there.
Low limp in the run. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
hitched. Yeah.
so I think first year, year 2 fully back,
Right.
I think he's just going to absolutely go off. I have him pretty much as a top 12 everywhere. I've been trying to get him everywhere, but he's not really someone, I find the people who have him aren't really willing to sell, but in redraft for that purpose, he's in this little trio that I say every time we talk running back that I'm looking for. I pass on the majority of the guys above him. I brought that up on the screen, right? Yes, I did. Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying it.
I go for Dobbins, Sanders, Akers, and even sometimes I'll throw in Connor, but I love that trio there in the 50s. I am actually hoping to get him in Scott Fishbowl, and if Matty freaking Kiwoom, who is showing as offline, would make his pick, I could make my first ever live Scott Fishbowl pick during this show because I'm on deck, but Matty Kiwoom here is sandbagging. So what do you think about the guys in that range there for him?
I'm going to be honest with you, man. You look at Dobbins at running back 20, and to be honest with you, we don't know what the workload for Gibbs is going to look like. And especially Scott Fish, when you're getting rushing per first down, you're getting rushing, a quarter of a point per carry. I think Gibbs is a little high at 15. I really do. And then to be honest with you, I'm definitely taking Dobbins over Pierce, over Dalvin Cook, and possibly Joe Mixon. Aaron Jones, I like Mixon as well, but I just have a feeling, man. I think Dobbins is a top 12 running back this year, like you said. I think he's an RB1, and this will be his first RB1 finish.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. He's definitely someone that I'm going to have lots of shares of. Trying to see how high do you think you'd be willing to take him here? He's 20. How high do you think you get up on this ADP list here before you're not comfortable taking
Before I'm not comfortable?
Yeah.
Man. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm looking at 14, 15, the ETN Gibbs Mixon tier. That's where I have Dobbins. And I might even take him over Ken Walker.
Yeah, see, Ken Walker and Brees Hall for me. Brees Hall is the injury, Ken Walker the situation. I'm not big on Pollard and Stevenson. Najee, I don't know how high I'd take him in a draft. See, these guys from after Derrick Henry, from Pollard, Stevenson, Najee, Brees, Ken Walker, ETN, Gibbs, those aren't guys I necessarily take over him. That's just the range in the draft where I transition and start going wide receiver because I don't like any of them. So instead of overdrafting him, I think my strategy has been pass on this range, take a wide receiver, and then take Dobbins. But if push came to shove, I could probably get him to a top 10 for me. I won't go above Henry. Pollard, Stevenson. Yeah, I could conceivably get him to 10, I think, for if I really had to, and you really put a gun to my head, I think I could get that high.
Yeah, the only thing about Stevenson is if he is the main guy in Bill Belichick's system, because we never know with the Bill Belichick running backs. If he gets a full workload, he had 69 catches last year. That's huge. Lamar's not known to dump the ball off to the running back, so you're perceived based off rushing value in Scott Fish, and you're hoping for a ton of first downs and a ton of scoring. Give me just a running back with the upside of receiving. I like Ramondre at certain points. So I don't know if I can crack my top 10, but I feel comfortable with Dobbins at 13.
No, I think I'd feel more comfortable with him around 12. But I'm just saying, as far as,
yeah, for sure.
Guys that I could see myself being willing to take him over, I could probably go as high as 10, but I'm more comfy in the 12 to 15 range. Like I said, I'm not overdrafting him in that range. It just seems to be 10 to 15 is where I just say, screw it, I go receiver, and then I'll take him at 20. So,
yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, I think it's going to be a huge year for Dobbins. I'm right there with you, man. I have the top 12 finish locked in for J.K. Dobbins, if not higher. You know how injuries affect the running back position. So.
Yep. All right, and with that in mind, why don't you take a second here to remind us all once again where we can find you and your work.
Thank you guys thank you, Aaron, for hosting me. You can find us, me and Ryan, the Delaware Dynasty Boys podcast at RPO Football. Also look for the offensive dynasty rankings and redraft rankings for the year. And then you can also find us at Yards Per Fantasy.
Awesome. Great as always. This has been Studs and Duds with Stephen Chalmers. Once again, I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and this has been the Mad Science Lab podcast. Thanks again, Stephen, for joining me, and thank you all for tuning in. Have a good night and take care. Yeah, thanks, buddy.